Monday the 3rd of December, Hilton Parish Council meeting open. Item 1 on the agenda is to receive any apologies for absence in declaration of interest.
No.
Full house?
No, in my full house, no apologies, no declarations.
No declarations? Right, then at this point we'll close the Parish Council meeting and open it to the floor. Any comments from the floor? John?
Myself, together with Duncan, would like to know if all ditch banks have got to be cut to 10 inches. All ditch banks. So if that could be reported in open spaces, probably.
We'll cover it then.
Thank you, Cal. I don't know the answer to that, and we'll be guided by the open spaces.
Thank you.
I've got a clue. In fact. Any other comments from the floor? Charlie?
Yeah, I'd like to know a cost for the easement for spreading the driveway at Pex office. It's been asked for many times, probably the best part over a year and a half. Without anybody coming back with an actual cost. I'd like that to be discussed.
I think it's on the item on the agenda. Yep. 4.2. Thank you. Any other comments on the floor? Okay. And we've got, apologies. We have apologies from Ian Bates. County Councillor, who was unable to advise us back in January. February. Right. Okay, item 2 on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on 5th of November. Now, Graham chaired this meeting, as I was late, tied up with work, and so I missed the bit from the A14.
I think that was quite fortunate. We didn't have a good time.
So I went home, as I wasn't there for the full meeting. So, do you want to propose?
Yeah, I mean, there's no comments on proposing that they're signed off.
Looked okay to me, yeah.
Who's the second that comment?
I'll second them.
And all those in favour? Wasn't in favour, so we won't, yeah? I won't, there wasn't anything. Okay, so item 3 is, 3.1 is play park. Feedback following open meeting, discuss ideas, options available to raise PC contribution towards funding approximately 10% of the final cost, a decision to apply for funding in December 2018. So, Dora, are you leading on this?
Sorry, please.
Simon.
Hi. We had a very successful meeting. We had over 40 families that either came to the hall or sent us emails, which was absolutely brilliant. As you will have seen from the huge amount of documentation that we sent through to you, I hope you've all read it, there were lots of comments. We've got more scanned on, so we can send them across to Joe. But very much so, the consensus was, please can we have a new playground? Playground is over 18 years old. The 4 companies that we met, that you've got listed, Fenland Leisure, Compound, EB and Hags, all said that basically 18 years was an incredible age for a playground. I did notice in old Parish Council minutes back in 2009, there was problems with the slippery surface even then. So, and I think we can discuss the designs, we can discuss the money. We've got samples of flooring here, which all 4 companies suggested was the right flooring to go for. The costs go from anywhere from 56,000, which was the most expensive company, right the way down to Fenland Leisure, which was only 15,700, which was just sort of refurbing what we've got. We asked all the parishioners that came to the meeting, and also people by email as well, do they think we should just update? Do they think we should just do the floor? Or do they think we should give and renew the park completely? And they all said, please can we renew the park? So on that basis, is there any further questions that the Parish Council would like to ask at this point?
At the last meeting,
Yes.
it was announced that this was going ahead, and there wouldn't be a need for the parish council to contribute. Funding would be secured completely.
Really
outside.
sorry, I
No,
wasn't
that's-
at that meeting and I don't know about that.
At the last meeting, I presented on that, and we have in order to get the funding, to do a funding application, you need to have a contributing third-party donation. So all the funding things we looked at, Mick George, Amy, Wren, they're all landfill community action fund type things.
Could I just bring it back for a second? Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you.
The comments come back through several channels, haven't they? And you and I sat with Justo back in the day and kind of
Yeah.
asked the villages, one of the things that came up, you know, as an emotive subject from people in the parish, they wanted that area to be improved. So, you know, I think it's good that it's come up again on for it.
Thank you very much. The parish council is all happy that we
I think
go.
we need to discuss it.
Subject to
further
funding.
before we
Just,
yeah.
Okay,
we had a
Sure.
chat, and I know that Ian had a meeting with you as well.
I've had a meeting, yeah.
So,
I thought we'd
from
bring
a,
that
I don't know
in
whether
later, but perfect.
so whether we would coherently give a message back about where the open spaces sit on this. We discussed, but this is my personal opinion.
Please do, because I've had a meeting with every member of the open spaces, so hearing that would be fantastic.
So one of the things you mentioned very quickly there was landscaping in the park area.
Yes.
Now at the moment it is a pretty wild woodland scene, for want of a better description. It's a lot of undergrowth on the ground, a lot of ivy, that sort of thing. So I think there's definitely some scope there to develop that a little bit, clear it out. There's some dead elms in there which eventually will need taking down. They will make quite a big difference to be able to see through the woodland. Certainly the ground cover is something we could look at. It's not going to happen quickly because it takes a lot of time to manage that transition. But I'd be up for that. I think that would be a positive thing.
That would be absolutely fantastic, and Kieran, thank you very much. I didn't know that you would talk about it this meeting.
No,
that
that's
was
fine.
going to be February, but
I think-
really
I think-
thank you for jumping in.
I mean, can I just add a little bit to that? Because some of the feedback we've got from quite a lot of families, both in social media, by emails, and at the meeting, was about the location, and they didn't feel safe in the current location. So those with older children didn't feel that it was safe to let their children go and play alone. Those with younger children just didn't feel like it was a particularly inviting location. So that's where the discussions have come up with green open spaces. We did get people asking about relocating it, and I know that Ian spoke to a couple of people during the meeting about that. And really the purpose of our meeting that we had with the village wasn't about moving, it was about trying to look at the current playground and what we can do to improve that. So that's where that came about from.
But you said, Peter, you wanted further discussion.
I think
What are the
before-
topics?
well,
What are the-
We're being asked to vote on, what are you asking us to vote on? Whether we agree that
In
the
principle,
playground
replace
should be
Renewed.
renewed, refurbished, replaced?
I think the vote that we should do is, do we all agree that it needs to be renewed, obviously subject to further conversation about funding, but are we in
So
principle?
renewed is about totally new equipment and new flooring.
Correct.
Because in a sense, that's like top of the range of what we've looked at, as opposed to just doing the floor or tidying up the existing equipment.
So that brings you into the realms of the three quotes, one of £40,980, one of £52,948 and one of £56,270.
I just add to that, Peter, which is where I was going, was, of course, if you did turn it and transfer it into more of a woodland managed scene, then that would be an ongoing maintenance liability for the council. Not saying that's necessarily insurmountable, but it's just pointing that out up front. We are, I'll come on to it, but this is not a bad time to start talking about maintenance contracts anyway, if there's any amendments to it, so that could be good timing, but we ought to be aware of that.
Just one thing to point out as well is that we all did a pretty good policy last month about children and adults at risk, which we all signed up on. A couple of points in that policy specifically talked about the parish council are one of our duties is to make sure that children and adults are safe and feel safe. I can't remember the exact wording, but I think it was in the supporting documents.
It is.
And currently people are saying that they do not feel safe. So I think the maintenance is something that needs to be looked at regardless, because if people aren't going to use it, if we just leave it as it is because they don't feel safe there. And that's one of our policies is to protect children and make sure they're safe.
And I think also Joe explained to us in one of the numerous emails we've had, Joe, that apparently at the moment we only budget £200 a year for the play area and all the wilderness area around the play area.
No, the wilderness will be under the trees.
No, I mean,
Open
just
spaces.
around the playground, I think.
Right, okay. We had so many emails, didn't we, Joe?
And actually Ian does a lot of...
I know
voluntary
Ian
work
does an
in
awful
there.
lot without, yes, and I'm very aware of that. So,
Has
we
anybody got
obviously...
any more comments they want to raise about the principle of renewing or refurbishing the playground at this moment?
I suppose my only comment would be based on the amount of feedback we've got and the positivity and the amount of support on this particular project, I would be very, not upset, but I think it would be very difficult for Parish Council to say, in principle, we don't support that, because that's what the parishioners have told us that they would want.
No, but the idea is we have to discuss it
Yeah.
and get the views of everybody around the table.
And also the parishioners have been asking when is the playground going to be open again?
Yeah.
And we were quite surprised actually the number of people that used it. I mean, I walked past it, but maybe I walked past it at the wrong time of the day. So that was a very positive, sort of gave us a lot of energy to continue taking this forward.
And at the minute we do have an agreement for the fencing to be repaired around the outside, which is yet to be done.
£45.
Yeah.
There's more than that.
Sorry, I did pick it up somewhere at
I think it's
45 quid. Is it 450?
Yeah.
Did I miss a note?
Or 350. Yeah,
Yeah.
350.
So we could integrate that into whatever the ultimate.
Andy, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Apologies, Laura. I wasn't able to be at the meeting on Sunday. It's interesting to hear the discussion that took place, and I've heard it from other villagers as well. What is the position about relocating it to a better location that doesn't get the leaves, the grey, isn't a dark, dingy, unsafe area? Because that's been discussed in the past. Could that be brought forward as a part of this discussion to relocate it to
Well,
a...
I think what we decided to do, Andy, was, in a sense, we have two issues. One is that area, which is currently a playground. What do we do with it? So the overwhelming view seemed, if we clear some of the stuff around it and renew the equipment, etc., then it's a viable playground. But the question mark about relocating and equipment for older children, adults, whoever, our view at the end was that is a separate subject.
Okay.
Let's sort out the playground first, and then we can raise that at a subsequent meeting.
This is very much, Andy, for toddlers up to 12-year-olds. We made all parishioners very aware. For older children, this needs to then be taken back to the Parish Council to look at as a separate situation, because we would like to give the toddlers somewhere to play. And we have a new play.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. You've answered the question.
Okay, thank you.
That's all we need to do. And I see there's talk about planting bluebells, wild garlic, etc. Because I think it was a comment that was originally a bluebell wood down there at some point.
That's brilliant.
There have been a couple of bluebells spotted
Under the ivy.
over the past 30 years.
Yeah. Never a full-blown bluebell.
Oh, no.
And there was a lot of discussion about having, through this cleared area, a little sort of wilderness path, both sides, for the little ones to go with their parents. And finally, which we did discuss, I suppose we should say, as we're going into depth and detail, we are looking at, and Ian seems to think it will grow, on the right-hand side of the actual fenced area, to put a grassed area and 1-2 benches, so that there is an area for mums to sit and chat, but be very close to the children.
So it opens up a bit.
Yeah.
And we did also, Sarah and I went to the day nursery, so they've got under new management only as of November, so we knocked on the door straight away. And they'd already been to the park. In fact, they'd had a walk down there, and unfortunately they were quite disappointed it was closed for the children. But they were really enthusiastic about it, and they were open to doing fundraising towards it as well, and wanted to get involved in the community, and they're really eager to get involved in whatever way they can as well. So
Okay, so that, has anybody got any other questions about the principle of it? No? Okay, then Sarah would like us to vote on whether we support the project of refurbishing.
Refurbishing, replacing, a brand new playground. So I think really a brand new playground. That's the easiest way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah. That's Sarah's proposal.
A second.
All those in favour?
Thank you very much, guys.
So, that then leads us on to...
In the minutes, in the last minutes, it does say that to match funding, it would require a contribution of 10%. Sorry.
Yeah. Being told that it wasn't going to cost PC anything. But never mind, that doesn't matter.
But it is in
opportunities.
I think it's most of these funding streams obviously want you to donate a certain amount to ensure more.
So I think getting
Yeah.
excited while we're talking about funding.
Okay, you want to fire away?
So, as we discussed at the last meeting, we've looked into a few different funding sources and they all have this 10 to 11%. It's not match funding, it's what you have to pay to release the grant. So if we get like a £50,000 grant, you have to pay 10 to 11%, depending on different, I don't know why they're slightly different, on top of that to release the £50,000. So it's not part of the funding, it's just extra, I think it's tax related. So some of the success criteria of funding are to do with long-term benefits and legacy, value for money, community interest, community involvement in the project. All of those things are things that we thought, and is confirmed by the meeting, that we wouldn't necessarily get just by spending £15,000 to £17,000 renewing the flooring and leaving the current equipment. So the difficulty we have currently, well, not if it's a difficulty, but thing we're doing currently, we've already had, as we know, the quotes that we had original quote from Woodsteed about doing repairs to the playground, which I think were in the region of £2,500 to do minor repairs and everything like that. And I know we didn't vote on that obviously, but that was our original quote. We did have a quote for the fencing, as we talked about. I think it was about £400 that we've already approved. So they're things we're already looking at in terms of just repairs and in terms of money for the Parish Council. The quotes for the flooring were very high, as we all discussed. So I think the opportunity is for the Parish Council to spend a small amount of money to get a brand new playground is a good opportunity. The issue we have is that we need to do the funding applications, we need to have confirmation in writing of who's going to be able to support that contributing third party fund. And those funding application deadlines for a couple of the funders are in the next week or so, and for the further one is in January. We are looking at obviously ways, we know it's a lot, appreciate it's a lot of money. I don't know what the council's stance on that amount of money is. We are looking at other options, as we've talked about, in terms of fundraising. I know there's been several parishioners who have already offered donations generously to the project and offered their time to the project as well. We've made initial contact with Hilton Town Trust potentially to provide funding. But in order to do a funding application, which potentially we need to do for the next couple of weeks to make the current deadline, we need someone to please back up the principle of the project by saying we would be prepared to release this 10% once we get a decision if the funding is available.
And isn't it fair to say that all of these funding things, even if you apply next week or whatever, it'll be March, April before you get in?
So I think they're all
so the payment of that amount of money may well end up in next year's budget.
Yeah.
That helps a him, does it?
So I suppose the question we're asking is, although we have tried to understand in great depth, again, lots of emails, we're really not sure because we can't seem to find the documentation of is there a surplus anywhere? And if there is a surplus, and we don't know how much it is, so it's a bit difficult for all of us to discuss it, would the Parish Council be happy to underwrite it initially? Then we can start, so we've got it underwritten, we can then start going for the funding, which we can't start until we've done that. And then we'll start going to the town trust and say, look, Parish Council underwritten this, but can you give us 1, 2, X thousand? I don't think we've actually said the amount that we're looking for, have we?
6,000.
Thank you.
So yeah, so that's the maximum based on the highest quote we've currently got. In actual fact, that highest quote compound was one of the companies that did a 20% match funding. So in theory, it's a 20% discount based on the equipment that we would have potentially is in the current.
So it's likely to be less than that.
These quotes aren't fixed because obviously now we're probably going to go back to some of these companies and say, right, actually now can we include this, can we have this instead of this? So obviously these are subject to change, but
And discounts.
and discounts and
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
Is there money set aside from SIL payments?
That's
Or
been
specific?
earmarked for footpaths. You've voted on that to be paid on the footpaths.
Right.
Yeah. So although any excess money that the council's had in, so it has a budget, a precept of £28,000. And if you look at, I think what Joe's sent you, an amount goes to the clerk, an amount goes on the maintenance contract, an amount goes on the insurance, an amount goes on ponds and ditches and trees. So, and there is a little bit that's set aside for contingencies for maintenance on the playground and training or whatever. There is no cert that in that budget. There are other bits of work that happen. So the pavilion, that has come from an easement.
Is that just easement money then, the
Yes.
pavilion? I couldn't remember, and
Funding.
I couldn't find it
Well,
documented.
there was the 10% that needed for the grants for the
Yeah.
pavilion. And
Yeah.
that was set aside from the easement money that came in. The SIL money that came in was voted to be spent on the footpaths,
How
State.
much was that?
about £4,000. So what you've got is a situation whereby to fund £6,190, you're asking for parishioners' money because it comes from the
Obviously,
parishioners. So is the input of 40 families, first of all, sufficient to support the Parish Council in going forward on funding applications without perhaps more people in the village knowing what's being discussed?
It's all been asked to do parts.
Well, if I can just say,
And
that
not being not-
we did a leaflet drop to every house.
Yeah.
Every household is
Yeah.
aware
Yeah.
of what we were endeavouring to do.
But it needs to be put
So
out
knowledge
again.
is there.
But did we do
Rob's
that?
got a good point though. Like we've
Yeah.
paid £4,000 in the past, which is not far off.
Yeah.
No,
But how many
it's been
months has that been discussed?
Construction time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's been discussed over many months.
So do you think that it is correct then, bearing in mind the Parish Council more than 18 years ago, because this is the second park that has been there?
Yeah, I remember a different one then when I was.
I'm sure, and I wasn't here then, so do you think that it is correct then that the Parish Council keep this park closed for months, if not years,
I haven't
until
said that
such
at all.
time as enough discussion has gone round
There's
this
something
table?
in between, isn't there? There's something in between.
I haven't said that at all, Sarah. I have said we've all voted that we should explore the upgrade or replacement or refurbishment of the playpaths in your head. But we have to make sure that people know what we're going to be spending on. With the past, it was over a number of months. Pavilion has been out there for a year and a half.
Can I just ask us, I'd like it to be a straightforward question, but I'm sure it's not going to be. When I've looked at the accounts,
Yeah.
the amount that we brought forward into this financial year showed us somewhere around 40-something thousand. You take out the pavilion and the pass and the fireworks money from that, which I know is all ring-fenced. There is still some amount in that left over. What is that amount?
So, all right, and I will make an announcement that you, sadly, this is post-agenda going out, but Joe has resigned as clerk with effect from the end of November, and that will take effect at the end of December. Okay? The Parish Council will have to employ a new clerk. The last time the Parish Council had no clerk, it cost the Parish Council over 6 months, because I looked it up before I came out tonight, an additional £3,700 in clerking fees. Yeah? So the reserves are there to cover such disasters as that. Right?
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, very sorry.
Yeah, so it's not on the agenda because it happened after the agenda came out. Joe and I spoke about it after the agenda came out. We were, and obviously that's Joe's decision, and we have to then go through the process of recruiting a new clerk. If we don't recruit a new clerk, we will probably have to consider using a clerking agency, or whatever it is, and that they charge. For the last lot, charge 40p an email, X pounds for that. So we have to. I have to consider that. You now know what we might have to do with some of our reserves.
Do we know what a reserve is, though? Just out of interest, what is the reserve around that amount of money, or is there?
There was that amount of money in there, but that was with the 7,500 easement, the SIL money of 4,000, and the firework money, which we had a donation of £5,000. We've spent of that it's the third year we've had it?
Yeah.
So £3,000 has gone out, but £3,000 has come in again. So you've still got 5,000 in that, which is firework money.
Yeah.
And the prudent is to have at least your precept as reserve.
So have we got our precept as reserve?
Yeah, just about.
And what's then on top? So I still, do we know a figure? Is there a figure or not?
Sorry, you haven't come to...
If you don't have to say that. I just wondered if we must have an amount we know that's surplus potentially after the ring-fenced amount's gone out, after we've got that.
Yeah, so we have
so we know
£37,000.
There's no way we know that we can vote on this if we don't even know. If
so we have £37,000 in the business account,
right.
of which £7,500 is easement, £5,000 is fireworks, £4,000 is SIL, so that's at 12.5, 16.5, leaves 21,000. Which is less than the amount of the precept.
Okay.
So it is floating. So.
Can I put it another way, and I don't know whether this is feasible or not. As we're saying about, do we completely redo the playground, agree in principle? Given that we can apply, let's say we apply for funding from various sources, in the meantime we can also request donations around the village. The town trust is one, but there were people who came here to the meeting who offered money to help with the playground. So there's a bit in me saying, you know, if we work really hard, and there's the play nursery people, if we work really hard at trying to, you know, generate the funds without having to knock the Parish Council sideways, you know, is it still feasible, viable to go ahead with the applications? You know, picking up Sarah's point, we don't really want the playground closed, particularly in the summer when it's most used, at least that will get the ball rolling. Is that feasible, viable, doable?
Well, I don't know, can you put your application in without a definite undertaking that the 10%, 11% has been found?
No, we would need
not that it's been found, just has been underwritten. It just has to be underwritten.
I mean, can I ask a question? Could we maybe discuss it? We now know that there is a figure of less than our precept sitting in our bank after all expenses of £21,000. And I appreciate the fact that the Parish Council, sadly, very sadly, is going to have to, maybe. But could we all discuss, are we prepared to put some of that £21,000 towards the 6,100 that we need?
Can I just as well ask about the 21,000? The precept money, do you have to have that there all the time, or are we like halfway through the precept, so we should only have half of it left now? Or when does the precept money come in?
April.
April. So we're more than halfway through. So 21,000 is more than what we should have. Is that right? Is that no?
No.
So you should have the preset money the whole time.
And we
You
don't.
have to have reserves.
We have to have
I'm
a-
just trying to understand, I'm not
Yeah,
questioning,
yeah.
I'm just trying to understand what we
Is
need
that
to have.
reserve a reserve that is written in black and white under Parish Council law, or is it our finance committee have said that's what they are comfortable?
It's recommended. It's recommended.
It's recommended.
It's certainly usual.
So, okay, let
And
me
you might
start.
think, just sit there forever, but.
No, let me put a figure on it then. Would the parish council be happy to perhaps allocate £3,000 of that money? Only the finance committee could answer these questions, but how much each year can you usually manage to tuck away?
Nothing.
So how did you build up that?
There's a bigger problem,
Yeah.
isn't there? You know,
Yeah.
assets like this do depreciate, they should
Yeah.
be depreciated, there should be an accrual
Yeah.
to cover them to replace,
Yeah.
and that's clearly an
Yeah.
issue here. If we haven't done it for this, probably lots of other things we'll do, we'll continue to get in this situation. It's something that probably we should take away and think of moving forward.
Yeah.
Secondly, we've got an asset that's shut because we can't maintain it. We've got a cost of about £3,000-ish to maintain it. At the minute we're saying we're either not going to fund that at all, in which case the park's going to shut definitely. I don't think we'd be having that conversation if we were sitting today with no other options. I think we'd probably vote to just do it,
Yeah.
personally. So you've got half the money already there, because we're not. I don't believe we'd sit here with the park shut. So actually the gap is only the other half.
I see what you mean. Yeah, we would have to spend up to £3,000.
£3,000 to keep it going. If we weren't having this conversation, we'd probably be sitting here voting to spend £3,000 to keep the
Yeah.
aged asset we've got here going.
And there's a good chance that we may be able to raise towards the other £3,000 between now and when we have to pay it in March,
Yeah,
April.
but that's not giving you the undertaking that the money is available before you submit your application, is it?
But Peter, if we submitted the application with the undertaking of the parish council, of saying that there's 6,100, that worst case scenario, you can have it, but we will underwrite it at this moment in time. If we will manage to get the funding through, but we didn't raise one more halfpenny of that £6,100, we would just say, okay, that's the end of funding, no, we don't want your money, let's stop, we've tried. But at least this way, it's giving it a chance.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to hold you to it. The funding applications, basically all that happens is when it gets to it, if you don't pay the money, they don't release the grant.
So no worse off, you know.
Also, I think
and
I'm...
then explore the options.
I think I'm right in saying as well that the property, I might be wrong, so, you know, the property at the end of Church End, a payment due date of the 20th February 2018, so that's been and gone, they needed to pay £11,555 to the District Council, Huntingdon District Council.
I don't think come through to me about that.
Well, we should by right be receiving 1,733 because we receive 15% of...
Which is the SIL money.
Which is the SIL money.
earmarked for the...
But have we
Which
had
we've
that
had,
1,733?
If it's a
The other thing
little,
with
if
Because I
it's a
couldn't
little
find
property
it
in the
documented.
corner.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't
you
find
can
it
do that.
documented
Do
anywhere.
you mean the one?
Yeah, little,
No,
little
the
property in
on
the
Possum
corner.
No,
Road.
I think it's Church End.
I'm talking about Church End, not Church Lane.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
as
no,
you
we haven't
find
had
it.
that money.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
that's
think-
another...
Can I just mention
Yes,
though, there are
please.
certain rules on what you can spend SIL money on, and I'm not sure, it has to be, SIL money has to be spent on something that enhances the whole
I think
village.
that's
But,
a good idea.
yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm just saying you
Only
have to,
attracts
just
sale.
have to
The
think
house
about.
is bigger than 100 square metres.
Well, I have read that it did attract still as far as Huntingdon District Council is concerned.
No, we'll ask.
Well, there's a bill there that says
Yeah.
that.
Joe will check that, Joe will
You're
check.
allowed to
Yeah.
extend the 100 metres, but I think it's new, I don't think you have that.
It's-
You know, there is a...
It's actually on the
Good point.
Huntingdon District Council planning,
So it
that
might not come
the
up
SIL-
contracted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
but we'll check.
Oh, it's on the planning.
It's on the planning.
It has been
yeah,
charged.
it has been charged.
So it sounds like you're saying that...
So there's another
even if we have to-
1,700 there.
Even if we have to scrabble around to find it, or request of parishioners finding it, if the parish council is willing to underwrite it, as you rightly said, Sarah, if push came to shove, and we got to the point of somebody offering us the funding, or several perhaps offering the funding, and we couldn't deliver the goods, then we're no worse off.
So that's a good point. So can we do that? So could we vote to underwrite it on the basis we have to revote to physically spend it, and we could make a decision at that time?
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
That
And then
gives the
at least
village
we
lots
can
of
go
time
for
to
the
decide if they do or don't want it.
Yeah.
That gives the team start to actually pursue getting funding, and gives us time to find some money in the meantime.
Because the process of the application is very long-winded, isn't it? But, well,
The starting has got to start now, but
Yeah.
then
It takes a long time.
the process is a long time.
Yeah,
And we
wouldn't get a
can
decision
discuss
until
further at
March,
each parish
really.
council meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Any other comments around the room?
So could we vote on the basis that the parish council underwrite £6,100, and then when we get, hopefully, the funding in, we can then vote again of how much the parish council are actually able to put on the table, and we will raise money, town trust, etc., etc. And we can discuss it at February and at March. But can I ask you to vote, are you prepared to underwrite £6,100? 90. Thank you. Yes, according to exactly the figures on the bits of
Any more
paper.
bits?
Before we do it,
Yes,
just
go
ask
on.
one question.
Please do.
So, a lot of the comments were, it's an unpleasant place to be, we want to do everything. So we have to think of it in terms of the whole project,
Yes.
rather than just what happens inside the fencing. So I think maybe we ought to think about this in the whole. Now that's going to have some costs attached to it. There's no point in us putting a play park in there if people don't go there because it's still too unpleasant. So we need to be careful that the whole thing's done together.
So maybe then, when you've done your costings, unless you've done it already, which would be amazing, perhaps in February we could sit down and discuss going for slightly higher, or going for a second funder to be able to landscape
Or-
outside.
To
Yeah,
be
we
honest,
also
see if
do
you
a
can
new
include
funding.
those costs into the funding
Including
application.
it.
and pay
Yeah,
for
we
it.
just-
That's a good idea.
So,
So I think if you do that in parallel would be a really good point, because you don't want to just have this bit done and then,
yes, I
you
agree.
know,
So if you say that 61,900 is the biggest, the highest cost you've had,
It is the
but you
highest.
have lower options.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But we were advised by all four companies to go for the maximum, because then when we start designing and also getting the 20% potential fund matching, that we can always come down a little. Now, hopefully, if we can reduce the cost of the actual equipment a little and match funding, we can then have some money to put to one side out of what we're...
and you might find by that point you found funding for all of it, and actually the cost of the office relevant. If
Absolutely.
you can cover it.
But we've got to make a start.
So would we be better off at this point voting for a slightly higher figure?
Yes. I agree with that.
But then, yes,
Well, I
Thank
just think
you.
we don't if we're going to embark on this, we're going to run out of steam and not do the job, which...
The only, just to counter what I've said a second ago, I don't think necessarily it's about upping what we ask of the parish council in terms of underwriting right now. I do think there are several sources that offer funding. We can apply to several of them, each for the whole thing or part of it. So I can see us doing a raft of applications, and if we do present it as the whole thing, you know, the surrounding area and the playground, then it does strike me, and we fundraise, you know, we make it a plot to fundraise, then I don't necessarily see that we should be asking more of the parish council.
I think we haven't actually gone to any of these play park areas. We are going from the initial figure. We are then trying to find out, can we get the funding for that? We haven't gone back to them yet and said, look,
This is
that's
what we really
too
want.
expensive. Go on, let's do some negotiation on
And
this.
this is all
I'm
stuff
sure
within the fence.
this
isn't
is
the
all
fence.
within the fence.
This is not the bench
No.
outside or anything
No.
like that.
I'm sure we'd get a nice parishioner or two to dedicate the odd bench to that area over the months. I think there might be some hiding in various garages. So, this is our initial first step forward, to see if we can get the funding.
Can I also ask,
Go on.
if we're going to vote on this, can we have it understood that this is for current site, current
Yes.
location?
Yes, it is for the current location, definitely. There's
Would
no
it be in-
question of that.
Could you also put intention in the minutes, that although we're underwriting it, it's not the intention that the PC will pay all that?
Well, we've said there would be another vote, we're suggesting there would be another vote as to how much the
But if it's
PCB.
actually in the minutes that we're going to underwrite the 6,000, I would have to write something there that that's just the underwriting, but that
It
We will find
there
this.
will be moves
Yeah,
to make sure that the Parish Council is not subject to actually have to fund that loan of money.
So what sort of
Well, there
amount
wouldn't
of
be
money
any.
would
I
you
don't
like
know.
to
I don't
I
need
think
to
we
worry
need
about
to
that
discuss
now.
that, because we can discuss that, I think, once.
I think it's a fair point.
Yeah.
Just to be clear on what we're saying.
Okay.
and if the Parish Council were to receive other money from other
Mhm.
things around the village,
Then we
then
can discuss it.
And
So,
also, you know, the money that's set aside for the pavilion, until we get planning permission, that still isn't going to be used as yet, so that's,
that is earmarked for a
it's
project.
earmarked.
I don't think we want to take money away from the
No.
pavilion because it's hard work to get lumps of money together.
Yes. But there will be more money coming in, and if, so, do you know, for a seal payment, what percentage does the Parish Council get of a seal?
15.
Is that what I
Yes,
think
15%.
so that might come in, so.
And I think you said pavilion definitely was all easement money, it's not seal money, is it? Because obviously there's that 5-year rule on seal money, isn't there?
Mhm.
Okay.
So, going back to the
Any other
proposal.
questions, first of all? Any other questions you exhausted topic? No, so anybody want any other comment? No? Okay, so it's quite a wordy proposal
I'm just trying to.
with lots of caveats. Yes.
So I've got so far, the PC agreed to underwrite a sum of £6,190 to allow funding applications to be processed. What else do we want to put in there?
For the existing, for renewal of the existing play park.
That undertaking is
Done. Yeah.
what was it subject to?
Second vote on that trust fund.
Yeah,
Second vote before money needs to be released.
yeah.
Yeah?
Based on grants achieved and other contributions to the pot. Is that fair?
Yes.
So, this is
Are you
subject
agreeing,
to a second vote before money released.
Mhm.
What was the last bit, sorry?
So, this will be subject to donations received, fundraising, a consensus, I guess, because if 40 families, which is less than 10% of the village, say they want it and 90% say they don't, then we have to listen to them.
Absolutely, I agree with that totally. Whilst Joe's finishing writing, could I ask all those loads of documents that were sent through about the play area, or I'll send them to you, could we put it on the website? Because it's
Well, you know, there's a lot of different companies who've got lots of different
yeah, is
information.
there too much yet?
Yeah, I think if we're going to consult, we should
Right, we'll make
Make it more,
more specific.
yeah.
Summarise.
They narrow it down to a couple of proposals.
Okay, all right.
Or maybe just pick one nice visualise, one that really long
Yeah.
and just say this is the sort of thing we're looking at.
We've got more on a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
There you have.
It's on that.
Yeah, try and make it so that it's easy readable.
I just want to make sure you had it.
So do we need to vote?
Yeah. So I should propose that.
One second.
All those in favour?
Well done, Tim.
Brilliant. I'll just add one requirement in terms of the funding applications for next week are what we actually need to submit. And I think we've got them all because you've done funding application for the path. But we, as well as we'll need
Yeah.
something in writing from whoever's the signatory on the accounts that we will agree to pay this, because we need to submit that with the applications next week. It's underwriting. So get the wording right. And there's also a load of other documents that I think we've
No
got.
policies. We've
Policy,
got
policy,
You've got policy number for the NSA.
Yeah.
So So
can't remember which
will I ever
application
get
has to be
those
signed by the
Yeah.
chairman.
No,
there should be.
No, I said-
it's just Joan and
James,
myself.
so get it in before the end of December.
Yes. So Joe can time.
Otherwise, it'll have to be me, I guess.
Just one or two other things. We wondered if, because none of these funding sources will deliver for 3-4 months or whatever, is if we manage to get a bunch of users, that's the hint, of the playground, we could perhaps set up a schedule of perhaps monthly cleaning or something, so we can open it in the meantime.
Oh yeah, that was going to be my question.
I don't-
Is there any other work we can do to try and get it
don't
open again in the short term? Yeah?
We did one morning.
Yeah.
And then closed it.
No, we closed it the next day.
You just need more effort.
Yeah.
We do.
We'll have another go if you want, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to do it. But we'll try. Let's try.
I think
I think we should.
we should give it a go, I think.
Are you happy to do water and electric? After the last time you said, no way, never, ever again.
Or
3 hours
alternatively,
of
you ask doing
continuous
outside
jet
contents.
spray is a lot.
There are outside people that do a hot wash. Yeah, that may be expensive, but
What you
Shall
started
we-
on before, didn't we?
yeah. Oh, there may be, but there's probably
Would it be
companies
worth
that do
putting
it.
now, this time, given it's going to come up?
We don't know just how effective that anti-cyber
That was
will be.
Okay.
And I question whether it's very effective. I'll come back.
Yeah, okay, fine. I was just wondering whether if the proposal is to replace that flooring anyway, is there something strong enough we can use on it? Because it doesn't matter, does it?
We did ask all 4 companies that came to quote, is there any way we can keep this playground open? Is there anything they can suggest? Obviously they're salesmen, I appreciate that, but not one of them came up with a suggestion. Not when we said that we would scrub this for a whole half a day, and then I turned up the next day and got hold of Joe and said, I think we need to close this.
What about good old-fashioned bleach?
Hydrochloric acid, that would do it.
But, you know, we
I'm
are,
jesting.
this is a surface that's going to be replaced, and
Yeah, but you don't want it to leach into the ground. It's not very friendly.
No.
You kill everything.
Shall the 3 of us see if we can come up with
Well, let's
some
look into
ideas and
something.
have a little
Would be
bit of a
nice.
test?
that helps to clear some
Graham and Ian, if
vegetation.
you come up with any
And all the
products,
animals and
let us know.
all that.
Yeah.
And we could get an outside company in to come and have a look and see if they could do it. We don't mind dealing with that. Is that something that you think might be a good idea?
Well, let's look for some options and see what we can come up with.
The problem is the
And
next
volunteers.
meeting we've got is February, and if it's a cost, what do? Just email Joe and say, can we cover it?
Peter can
It won't be
Okay.
easy to
nice
do it.
small.
It's only going to be a small jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And that-
We'll deal with
And
that.
the
We'll
other
try and see if we
thing-
can find a method.
The other things we need to make our cases for getting local donations and all that kind of thing, so we can carry on with that in the meantime,
Mhm.
can't we?
Don't forget Douglas as well.
Yes, Douglas.
We have been there.
She, because she kind of did, but not on the record. I'll tell you later. There's a toddlers group.
Yeah, that's in here.
Just one quick point. Can you please keep the open spaces group in the loop?
Absolutely.
As far as the,
Absolutely.
hang on, let me finish the sentence. In the design process, please. I think it would be, we can make a contribution, and also I think it's make sure that it all ties together.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One other thing is that I didn't mention is we are going to make sure, and we made it very clear at the meeting, that we would not have any of the equipment any higher than it already is because of the neighbours around there.
Yeah.
Is it?
Sorry?
That's right.
Aerial runway through the
I know, I
trees.
thought somewhere to put that, Peter.
That's the reason why I think water sliding.
Can I just raise 2 other things? One is, can we please put on the website, on the community website and in the Spectrum, a big thank you to all the families and the kids with endless lovely drawings. We'd love to get the drawings on the website of what the children would like, and I think it would just be a nice boost to thank
Somebody
everybody.
Put that
Yes.
together.
And make that very,
So
make it very
Spectrum
public.
isn't published, you've had one just this The cars came through the doors now. There won't be another one until.
February.
No, that was Christmas one. It will be January, February.
January's fine, I think that would be lovely. I mean, last point is, there were various things suggested that are kind of outside of the playground, the idea of other kinds of equipment or other locations or whatever. And I'd just like to suggest that we bring forward some of those, and I'll try and perhaps make a coherent case for some of them to bring forward to another meeting. So, for example, people have suggested things like solar lights up high, litter bins, etc., picnic tables. Well, who knows? I'm just flagging that there are other things suggested, and I'd like us to be considered.
I would like to back you up a bit on that, Anne. And sorry, Kieran. At one of our meetings, February or March, do you think you could possibly give us a very quick, simplified overview of what it means with all the ground we've got around and all the sort of common rights and common rights owners and all those sorts of things, so we can sort of understand
It's
how...
not common land.
No, but I think the point Sarah's making, there's a few people asked about why I can't move the playground in the open space, such as. So I think that's it's. I think
I would suggest
that's what I said. Another
exactly.
Because
I'd like to really stop that now, really, because the council tried to do anything on common land. The whole village went up in arms. So I think we know what the village thinks. It was pretty well cleared when we had the election in 2013, so I don't think that should be on the table.
Well, that's what some people think. Clearly we've had other views expressed here. But the only thing I would say is all the common land.
Hang on, the majority of people didn't want us to disturb common land.
That's not right. The majority of people in that meeting...
Now, let's stop this.
Yeah, I disagree with that totally.
I don't want shouting out from the floor. There is a difference of opinion between people on this whole matter. The playground is in an area where the playground is. The vote we have had this evening is about refurbishing that playground. You discussed the money side of things, and people realise that there isn't an endless pot of money. For other equipment to be suddenly thrown into the debate at the end is something that has to come to another meeting.
I agree.
And we'll end the topic there.
No, just flagging.
No, we'll end the topic there.
Yes, sir.
Good. Right. Because we are not going to discuss something that's not on the agenda.
Right.
3.2. Fireworks. Discuss and decide on a new coordinator for the event. As you're aware, at the last Parish Council meeting, Graham announced that he would like somebody else to take over the organisation, the coordination of the event. Please we kindly do and thank you very much. I think Sarah sent in a nice email to the Parish Council advising that the event had gone really well for Feast Week. We had also announced last month that the receipts were excellent, and that is allowing this ring fencing of money to go forward to take the fireworks beyond the 5-year. So benefit of the donation, and there's a firework committee to sort out the fireworks. So, has anybody given any consideration as to whether they would like to step into the role as coordinator for the event in 2019?
Graham, I was just going to ask what it actually involves, because I don't think many of us really know what the job involves.
Well, really, it comes under the Parish Council's insurance, and therefore the Parish Council has to take a very prominent responsibility for it all. So the firework people do their fireworks. The bonfire is an issue. That's what we actually take responsibility for, is the bonfire. But overall, we have to look after the whole event. So if anything went wrong, we would have to prove that we were doing it within the Parish Council guidelines. Now, I think we're on the edge of it being a Parish Council thing, because there's so many people that are involved with it that have nothing to do with the Parish Council.
Sorry, can you explain that? What you mean with the fireworks?
Beasley Grant Parish Council, and the firework people aren't Parish Council. So, and we don't have a number of marshals that walk round. So we are on the edges of it not being a Parish Council event. It's a small event, so we can get away with things. But you are taking responsibility for what could be a serious incident, and it's Parish Council insurance that we rely on. It doesn't cost any more because it's covered under the umbrella of the Parish Council insurance that we have. So the point I'm trying to make is that we have to take it seriously. We have to monitor what's going on. So that's what you do.
So do you have to do a risk assessment every year? And that's...
You have to do a risk assessment. There are various things that you can read, and also the insurance company tells what each you do. For instance, a new one came up this year that implied that we'll have to move the bonfire because it's too close to the property. So there's a question mark about whether we had to move that or whether we had to get in touch with the insurance company to ask if it's okay because the wind normally blows the other direction.
What, you mean the farm? What farm?
No, I don't mind if it's the nearest one.
Oh, Zana.
So yeah. So it's it's not just a case of asking parish councillors to stand on the gate.
And do you liaise with the fireworks committee
Yeah.
and feast week?
Yeah. And the ambulance and that lot, and first aiders. And police, ambulance, fire.
You just have to inform them.
Oh, so do you inform them?
There's an event going on, but there's an event.
Yes, it's part of the insurance requirement.
Alright.
So,
And do the guys who run the fireworks, do they have their own liability insurance, or is it all under PC?
they work on our behalf.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the it is the crux.
Okay.
Because it's fireworks are going to go wrong. Well, the bonfire could go wrong, so
So does this need to be a role that one person takes on, or does this be something that a couple of us could get together and share responsibility? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, we don't need a particular name, it's a parish council event, but we just need to make sure that the parish council knows what's happening, and it's not a case of...
Because it sounds like perhaps it's a responsibility that's shared, because to your point there's a few aspects there, rather than, it can almost feel like a small working group type thing that just manages it, because that way you can perhaps, like I said, the burden doesn't fall directly on
Well, that's right, yes.
That's what it is.
And I say it's maybe it's tough in the first years because obviously it's happening, but then you do run the risk of running into complacency because we've never had a problem, so therefore we never will. That's not the case.
But if, as Rob suggests, there was a wee group that looked after it, would you be willing to be involved in a group?
No. I would certainly.
What was the first
I would certainly be at the first meeting if necessary.
Yeah, I was just thinking of a kind of handover.
I wouldn't be a second meeting.
Yeah, it's just like with any role, if you had if we had a list of things that need doing.
Yes.
I mean, I think the fireworks night is a fantastic community event, and I just think we've got the funding for the next few years. So I just think it's really important that we continue it because it's an amazing event, isn't it? And it brings in quite a wealth of finance, doesn't it?
Yeah, we only had one bad year.
There was three falls.
It was a clash in half terms, isn't it? But,
So at what point during the year do you start coordinating? Is it within a few months of fireworks night, or do you have to do things?
It's got later and later.
What is it? So we basically
and that is
leave
the
it
problem,
till...
you see, complacency leads to starting far too late.
But we could leave it till like a much later meeting to get
Well, yes, but we need to make sure that the guys, because they buy the fireworks, we understand how much money.
Could we, I think...
Well, someone's got to, we need to allocate how much money is there, and then we need to make sure that the people will like fireworks, and so, from memory, it's probably May, June.
It's buy them by the end of June.
The best is
We have a proposal that a small group is set up to undertake the role that Raymond's kindly done for X number of years.
Well, if
and
nobody
that it
does,
is-
there won't be any fireworks.
Absolutely.
and that it meets by May or whenever it is, to which Graham is invited to tell us what it's all about.
Well, I'd be happy to join as well.
Yeah, I'd support it.
Thank you. Good. Excellent. Yeah, that'd be fine. There you go. Don't need to vote on a proposal for it. You've got to balance it. You've got to really volunteer. Thank you very much.
Your name's been in writing then,
Yeah.
sorry.
And as Graham said, he's quite happy to talk to you first about what you need to do and that sort of thing. And thank you. Good. Right. Any other comment? No? Good. Item 3.3. Speed update on volunteers training 10th of November and next step. Looking at you, Miss Laura.
Okay, so we had 3 people from the village trained on the 10th of November. I don't know their names, off the top of my head, I don't know if you need their names.
No.
So they were trained, and the next step is I've been in touch with Mike. Is it Mike Brooks?
Yeah.
Mike Brooks, who's the police officer with the training, and he needed to know some locations in the village where we propose doing speed watch, so I've given him some potential locations, and he needs to come out and do a risk assessment and to check their suitability.
Good.
So I'm waiting for him to get back to me on that. He doesn't need anyone to accompany him, he doesn't need the volunteers to be there, he's just going to come and do that and let us know. And then Joe was liaising with the 3 people that have been trained so far to see if one of them would be like a coordinator, arrange the sessions, because it makes no sense really for, I mean, I'm happy to coordinate the first session for them together, but it makes sense for them to coordinate themselves when they're going to do speed watch sessions. The only thing I was going to ask from you guys is, are we trying to get lots of sessions done in a short space of time? Are we trying to get speed watch set up as a once-a-week session for indefinitely, or are we trying to get like a 2-week one with as many sessions as possible? I know from the police meeting, I think we were trying to get a lot of data together.
Yeah.
Was that?
Now, they were indicating a 2-week session, but he's gone cold, I think, in terms of replying to what
He
you wanted.
no, he does reply. I think it's just.
This isn't Mike, this is
Oh.
the other chap.
Oh right.
He had done, but I think he'd moved us on to Mike because he was more
okay.
the logistical person that's actually dealing with the training
And has he got the
next.
equipment?
So I think, yeah, the equipment is available to share between several villages, and that was like the next step. Once he's done the risk assessment, we can contact him to obtain the equipment.
Ask is a 2-week period still.
I just don't know if he's the person to ask that, so maybe we need to go back then
Up, one up.
to sort of precinct and
Yeah.
double check that.
Yeah, because that's what he was aiming for initially.
I have emailed the 3 volunteers, but I haven't had any response from any of them, which is a bit odd. But I'll email them again.
Okay. And we did have several other volunteers, and the next official training session is in January, but we were told that they can do some roadside training sessions if we want additional ones. So if we're only doing 2 weeks, then we don't need that, but if we wanted it to go on as an ongoing deterrent through the
Yeah.
to consider.
Thank you.
So will you contact those?
I'll email them again.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Right. Moving on then. Any questions from the front? Item 4.1 is the A14 Community Fund. Have they paid the money? Because it was due.
They've said,
I don't know if it's gone in.
No.
her note said it would be paid in, and I forgot to ask you that. But I assume it has, but I don't know. The other thing to add is that I asked Mike Davis of the County Council when they, not just when they're likely to do it, but when they would actually want any money from us, because we said there was £500 at it. And he came back today and said this would be July. So in other words, we pay at the end when they've done the feasibility study.
But this 9.5 will go straight to the County Council? Don't know.
I assume so, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're talking about potentially outsourcing.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
I imagine the 10k will get
Straight
a
back to
set
the
figure.
Okay. So,
So that's all I can add at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not
but
sure.
July maybe for the feasibility study to...
Well, that's when it will finish.
Oh, it will finish?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's basically saying you'd pay up at the end, because in an earlier email he said that it would start in the new year. over the 3 months,
Yeah.
3-4 months, so we'll probably start February.
Excellent.
That's the plan.
Again,
Slow business, I'm afraid.
sure. It came up last month that you'd got the money, hadn't you? Didn't it?
Well done,
Yeah,
Anne.
so well done.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
And would that 814 fund be any good for you
Well, I
guys
did
on the
look at
paper?
that. It's very weird wording, the way you have to be able to show that the project is related to the A14 and not just by proximity. I'm not quite sure how to
No.
do that.
I could think of
I
something.
don't think
We'll
I've
work
seen
on that.
any play groups that have managed to get any money, or playing areas that managed to get any money out of them.
It's just it was another
Yeah.
funding
Yeah.
area, wasn't
It's
it?
worth asking.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll try and make Gerard.
Yeah. See what he says. Yeah, informal discussion. Have an informal discussion with him, first of all. Right, item 4.2 is update on using the PEX copies. Now, the matter rests firmly with our solicitors about the easement, and as you'll be aware that there was a valuer's report undertaken which came out with a figure of valuation for the easement, and this has not yet been agreed, and I hear the applicant mention at the beginning of the meeting that he'd like to know what the figure is if the access was split over the existing driveway. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the solicitor has written to the applicant solicitor recently pointing out that this would might not sit in with planning, I think. So no figures that this is possible. So we need to find out then what the valuer, because there would be a cost, because you've got the cost of, as one place down the road there had for the services going into the new property, so drains and mains and electricity. I guess that there might have to be an amendment to the plan, but that's not to do with us, about if the there was a change in the way of the access, because planning would have been agreed for that property with access across there, and planning doesn't.
There was a question for the valuation as well. So there is a correction in there for the valuation being asked by the solicitor. It refers to it as village green rather than common land.
I don't think that there's any. Yeah, the comments regarding village green and common land are irrelevant. If the land was village green, then it would not be possible for our client to grant a right of way. This restriction does not apply to common land.
Just the value is, it needs to be corrected for the valuation.
Yeah, I don't. As the solicitor says, I think that is not going to hold up either way. So we will. Solicitors are dealing with it. There is no resolution to the point at the moment. There's been no agreement made with regards to the easement. There is a figure out there that was on the valuation, and we've not had anything come back on
There's
that
lots coming,
figure.
and nobody actually talks about it. It's all behind closed doors, so whoever that working group is, it needs to be discussed actually in a parish council meeting rather than behind closed doors.
There's not been anything more. That's the latest letter, I believe, from the solicitor.
So what needs to be done to close this? This has been, I understand this has been on for a long time. I understand the challenge concern of this.
Well, initially we
Paying
were
for the
asked,
easement, as the
obviously,
solicitor
for the
has quite
land.
clearly
So
stated.
he's asking different questions.
It's asking different questions and not being answered.
So we had a, but we then need to go back to the valuer because he hasn't, obviously the initial valuation was for the one
Yeah,
lot.
we need to get a value for what it is rather than village green. Common land is different to village green, how it gets valued.
I think the solicitor quite clearly says
That's what the solicitor says.
village green and common land are irrelevant.
It's just an easy thing to change for the valuer to put it down as what it is, isn't it?
Right, see, you would like to see the valuation report say this is for access over the village green.
No, for common land.
Get that right.
But even then it says you need a prescriptive right, and that doesn't exist.
Yeah. So, and where we are, it's an impasse, isn't it? The Parish Council is saying that to have access to Lot 1, as it's referred to, there is a cost. And the cost is that valuation that you've had. Yeah? Because that's what we were asked to provide a
It doesn't take into
valuation
account
for.
anything else.
But that's what the Parish Council were asked for, a valuation for access to that plot, which is has given.
So that current valuation is creating a new access clause. Is what we're saying now, they're looking to see what the value would be if we use the current access to get to both plots. Is that the question?
That's the question.
And that would be planning permission?
And that
Well,
needs
I don't know,
evaluation.
but don't know what the planning situation would be.
If I think back over all this, there's kind of two parts to this, isn't there? There's the ongoing debate on does the owner have a right to cross it? And this has gone back for years, right?
Mhm.
So the previous owner of that land had a debate with the council back in...
That was-
you
and it
remember that?
2007, 2008, and he was advised there was no access.
Yeah, and he disagreed, from memory. So there was a stalemate there in terms of who owned it. That's gone on to the new owner. And I think we had this conversation when we said we're going to get valuation, but the problem won't go away in terms of the valuation is great, but if people don't think they need to pay a valuation, it's kind of irrelevant.
And that's the impasse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the Parish Council will say that there's a strip of land across the front of that
Yeah.
which the Parish Council owns, and there is not and has not been vehicular access across that for, well, when I moved in 1997, that was a coppice. So there was no vehicular access, and it was an established coppice, so prescriptive rights are given 20 years of access. There's no motor vehicle access in there. The land registry document clearly shows that the Parish Council own that strip of land across there. It's the valuation to be able to get across that land has been produced and provided to the applicant.
So that's, like I said, that's the first thing. Does someone have rights or not to cross it? Do the Parish Council as it doesn't? Then there's we've got the valuation now, and that's clear. And I'm guessing by looking at the question, right? I'm guessing you're not interested in paying that.
No.
So then now you're asking. I think you've asked before, to be fair, what the cost is to split the drive.
Yeah, Charlie has asked, and I have been referring it back to the solicitor because at some points
There's somebody
you
pulling the
want to
solicitor's
speak, and I
strings, there,
don't.
isn't there?
Sorry?
There's somebody pulling the solicitor's strings. He's not just acting on his own behalf.
No.
Somebody from the Parish Council is telling him what to say.
Right,
and what to do.
no, absolutely not. I'm emailing him with your questions because, as far as I'm
He's
concerned,
not acting on his own behalf.
Well, none of I'm the only one that speaks to him via email, so nobody else has had any input. So I'm just going back to him with your questions. And the reason I did that was because I don't understand it all, and it's gone through solicitors so far. So it's no good
taken
us
4 months to
opening
get a
up.
valuation, which I wasn't allowed to see even though I paid for it.
You were allowed to see it.
I wasn't allowed to see it. It took me a month worth of
Yeah, because we
legal
had to get
letters
permission from
to
the
actually
valuer.
to force your hand to show me that.
No, we had to get permission from the valuer to show it to you because it's at the end of the
And then
day
you
it's
got
his
doctored.
document.
Then we
No,
asked-
all that was taken off were names.
And he
Because
said,
for-
can you show us any information? What is it? Just the names being taken off, or
Yes,
is it something
absolutely,
else?
just
And
names.
nobody come
being
back with an
taken
answer on that either.
off. I'm telling you now that only names have come off of that document.
Well, I think you need to go back to the solicitor and just get it sorted out, and again just liaise with
But
Arnold.
I think kind to do it because I think this doesn't have any value. The real issue here is I think whatever's going on needs to be resolved, and it doesn't feel like it is. And you know, going back to the conversation I had earlier about money being tight, and we're spending, I'm guessing, a lot of money on solicitors. I don't know if
Well, I don't think any of us know what the cost of solicitors are at the moment.
Is this something that is you know, it sounds like it's something that people just need to sit in a room and have a conversation, try and come to an agreement. But
Can I ask one question? Just reading the notes here, and I literally have scanned them. Is the solicitor saying that you need to go back for planning permission to find out if the planning department will allow you to split that drive and give you access to both properties?
No, I mean you'd have to go back through planning,
I wouldn't be the
but
solicitors.
we went down to.
No, so what I'm saying is, I know it's been time, is it worth you just going back to planning and saying, can I split the drive? Is there enough space in their amazing opinion?
There's enough space, but it's moved on beyond that because we've been asking the same question for about a year and a half. And we had a meeting.
And Parish Council has given you the answer. That
hasn't given the answer what was asked. One was
given you a
for split
valuation for
driveway,
access,
and one was for an access, a separate access.
Well, we go back to the valuer and ask him for the split access.
Shared.
Shared access.
But what do
Yeah.
you need?
And we have to talk to the solicitor to see if that's permissible.
You still need an easement over the current access.
Well, there is no formal easement over that. There is a specific right to the property that was Hexcoppers.
But the one down the road paid £12,000, isn't it? The Punches Grove.
Because there was a formal access agreement, easement for the land that was known as Punches Grove. So the £12,000 was paid for the services and utilities that were put over.
But the services already exist, so they go to King's Willow.
There will have to be something, I'm sure, because Parish Council will take its advice to the solicitor, and the solicitor was clearly saying what he said in that email to your solicitors.
It needs to be responded to. I know the questions that the solicitor sent about 3 weeks ago still haven't been answered for your solicitor.
Our solicitor replied to your solicitor in the last few days.
It's not a reply, it's more to say about the hardcore up front. It wasn't actually a reply to any of the other previous questions.
So to turn this into something tangible, do we need to give a gentleman a quote to do that? Is that something we
A
can
quote to do what?
To shared access?
We'll have to go back to the valuer and ask.
Yeah.
Is that a PC cost?
No, because no easement will be given unless the applicant pays
You mean
fees.
for the valuation?
Yes.
If there's more costs.
It will be the applicant will have to pay.
That's why I'm asking. I mean, let's put it on the table. So if we're asking the valuer to go back in, we'll have to get a quote from him of how much he will charge.
And pass that on to the applicant to solicitors for agreement to pay.
So
That's
therefore,
the best way.
if there's no easement, a property cannot be built. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all.
Yeah, but they can't get to it.
That's a different matter.
Good in a shared drive. Going back to Rob's point, is there some value here in just having a meeting with the parties involved? Because it does seem a long time, we've been talking about
it
this
will be,
nicely.
because the applicant doesn't want to pay what the valuation is.
Well, it's just looking at whether, if he's asked for a shared...
And we have a responsibility to the parish.
On the valuation, the correct thing, so what's on the report needs to be valued in the correct way with the right briefing given to the valuation, and with it stating common land as opposed to village green, and a few other little bits in there which actually he's got wrong in the valuation, which have been highlighted by the
I'll
solicitors.
repeat the solicitor saying the comments regarding village green and
He's
common
referring
land
to free
are
land as well.
irrelevant.
They might be relevant, but I think they're a fair point. If we paid for a valuation, or if we don't pay for it, it should be right. I don't think that's. I don't think
I
that's
don't think it's a big
unreasonable.
point. I don't think it's a big point.
I don't think it's unreasonable either. If I paid someone for a document and it came up incorrect, I'd question the whole validity of the whole document. So I think to ask to be corrected isn't a daft thing to do.
We can ask
Is
the
it
valuer to
going to
check.
make
It's not a
any
problem.
difference to if the wording is common land, etc.?
Yeah, because common land's capped, village green as well.
Thank you. So that there is a
There will
reason
be a
for it.
difference, yeah.
Well, the solicitor said in his letter that if it was village green, we would not be able to grant a right of way.
Should we ask the valuer to
Yes.
amend it and say, if you amend this, does this make any difference to the valuation? Could you advise?
But I think the valuer needs to actually state exactly what type of land or what name that land has got, because you understand the difference.
Yeah, he
Obviously,
needs to state what he's selling.
it shouldn't be paid for.
That's fine. We will ask the valuer to change it. I still would listen to what the solicitor says, which is irrelevant to the overall
I
fee.
don't know what the email says, so it's the comments regarding are irrelevant, but I don't know what the comments were, so
No.
it's difficult, we've only seen one side of the emails, to know exactly what the solicitors are replying to sometimes. But just from looking
So
at
we
it.
will then go back to
No, I
the
agree, actually.
valuer and ask him to change the wording. we will ask the valuer for a valuation on a split grant. Shared access, sorry, shared
It's
access.
been split, and it's none of that shared.
Yeah. And I believe that there is a request for the other part of the land to be restored to how it was, having been used to access for the building site.
And just to go back to what Rob was saying, I'm just wondering if as parish council meetings aren't generally an area for debate and discussion with parishioners, would it be worth having a separate meeting that could, so rather than going back to the values and solicitors say one thing and then going back to saying one thing and it going on and on like that, have a meeting, find out exactly what we need to find out and what we need to do, and then go back.
Find out what we need to find out at the moment.
Okay.
And we will take that to the valuer and the solicitor and get an answer.
Also, I do think we are spending parish council money on a solicitor when actually, if we did maybe meet...
No, because as I said, every time an easement is requested, our costs are covered by the applicant. And they're not agreed. It's
So
not
the applicant
really.
is paying for our
They're not covered, are they? They're not covered. We've only agreed to pay for the valuation. We haven't agreed to pay for them because we don't have the easement. Then there won't be no. Who's going to pay those costs then? All your legal fees building up at the moment. Keep answering silly questions.
Well, that will have to come out at the end, won't it?
So I think we need to be careful with money here.
Yeah, I
There is no
agree.
end,
I
there's
do.
no
Oh my
end.
gosh, I'm actually quite shocked that if the applicant doesn't
We've got a big
pay
bill sitting there, and
the
the parish,
easement,
my solicitor said they're not going to pay it.
Fair enough.
then-
We don't
that out,
out.
though,
It's fair enough. We won't, the parish council won't agree to an easement.
But then if
Well, you would be
sorry, what was
No, sorry.
that? If the applicant decides to not go for an easement and has a shared access or
Mhm.
whatever, then the parish council will be left to pay the solicitor's bill.
We won't agree it, won't it? Parish council won't agree it. To
won't
issue,
agree what?
to give permission for a
there's a
shared
right-
access.
do we
Because it's
give
still coming
permission?
over our grant. There is a
risk that the
restricted
applicant
right
turn around tomorrow and say
to
he
a
doesn't want to do
plot.
anything, and then we're...
Yes.
That's what I mean, there's a
Yeah.
drive there already,
So
surely, that people
we
get.
are underwriting that solicitor's bill.
Yeah.
We just need to be mindful of that.
Yeah. But if
Do you
there
know
is
how
a...
much roughly legal fees are?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Don't get too panicked because we have to do this.
Mm.
If somebody suddenly started taking over your drive, you would finish up ultimately, hopefully not, but ultimately having to reach for solicitors to settle it up. And it's a risk that everybody would take if something like that happens. So we don't really have a choice.
No, we don't.
We should be cognizant of what we're doing.
We should keep an eye on it, absolutely.
You should, yeah.
Have you been given evidence though that you had got permission?
Sorry?
You had been given some evidence of saying that there had been the case and it had been asked from the parish council to prove the other way, and they said in 2015.
Our proof is that the land registry document states the parish council own that land across the front land.
I also said because it wasn't coming from myself and it's coming from the previous owner, if you could give us the evidence and everything you require, because when I bought a piece of land, it's written into a contract that he would have to pay. So it doesn't bother me, it's not my money really, it's just need to make sure it's clear that we have documentation that I need to have, so I can then go and get the money off the other person. So I'm like the middleman, as it were. So it doesn't bother me how much it is in a way, but it needs to just be, things need to be correct, and he needs to be say, yeah, I'm okay to pay that, and the documentation that you've got is out supersedes what he's got, showing that when he had bought the house Kings Willow in 1961, it stated in there when he had the searches done, it was owned by the district council, not owned by parish council. And then the common land's only come into common land registry, I think in 1970, sometime after he purchased the property. And when it was registered as common land, maybe all the people who had access at that point should have been registered on that at that time, so people knew who had access and who didn't. It's a bit of a nightmare really, isn't it? In terms of trying to get it sorted out. And I'm trying to help in a way, but you need to give me the documentation that I need to have so I can get it sorted. And, you know, because I want to live in the parish and I want the parish to have the money, but it needs to be given, I need to have the tools to give to me so I can help to get it sorted out. So I'm trying to do that, like I did say to you about a year and a half ago when we had that meeting, You said you'd come back to me a week and a half later, and some 18 months later, we started talking about it again.
We have a valuation.
Not satisfactory,
Would
really.
it,
No, it's not.
would the easement committee be able to meet separately to discuss this, you know, before? Because it just seems like we're toing and froing solicitors, and it's just, you know, if the applicant is saying that he wants to work with the parish council, it just seems like actually, you know, we need to perhaps meet outside the parish council meeting, open meeting, to discuss it, and then know exactly what we would need to ask our solicitor, and then he'll know what to ask his solicitor for. And if there's documents he needs, then maybe that's a way forward. I don't know. I just think there needs to be some resolution.
There does.
I think there needs to be a very rapid resolution. I think this has gone on for far too long. I don't know anything about this because obviously we're not privy to it, but I've just heard one person say, I need a documentation, I need a piece of document so I can go to the previous owner so he will pay the easement to the parish council. Now, why can't we give him that document, whatever it is, that he's asking for?
Document is a land registry title which shows that the parish council owns that land.
But
could he have a copy of that?
He's claiming right to, because that's the problem. He's saying that you do have it, but he's saying he's got rights to it because when in 1961 he's got documentation showing. He says, you know, if you had access to it, just if you went away on holiday, don't mean to say you was to lose that access. If you don't suddenly use it for 10 years, don't mean to say you lose your right of access. Which he's saying you have.
Is it worth a committee meeting with the applicant and trying to have a conversation, reach a resolution, as opposed to
Banging it to the front.
soliciting?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think just solicitors are what, £200, £300 an hour. No one's winning here, let's face
No,
it, you know.
they're not.
Actually, the solicitors are the ones that are winning. So why don't we just maybe just try sitting around a table and just having, you know, a short meeting, just to see if we can reach a resolution.
Mr. Chairman, there are people in the village that have lived here for years that are stating that there has never ever been a gateway or an access into there.
There's documentation which shows in 1961 that you can't go again.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, but Mr. Dooley, he'd twist anything to stop.
Well, you can't do land.
We're not going to go into personal opinions. Thank you.
It's outside our skill set, so we need to.
And that's why the solicitor has been liaising with the applicant's solicitor, but
The parish
as I said,
council-
there is an impasse.
As you propose, we can ask for the shared access.
Yeah.
And
We need to be able to
spend
evaluate and do that. Let's get that,
Is it
and
worth
then
having a
we,
meeting?
let's get this information first, and then we've got
So we're
something
going
to
to need a
talk
meeting
about.
to
Yeah.
discuss what goes back on.
And ask the value to write the correct wording on the current valuation.
Do you know from the applicant what the documents that he's referring to are? That
There are some sales documents which say that there was an access to a market garden.
so we do know,
Or a garden.
we do know what they all are. We don't need
Yeah.
to, you know, what.
Provided those documents before. And if all the points that are not correct in the valuer's report, can be forwarded back to
Yeah.
the
Correct.
Yeah.
So let's get the answers first. We know the points, get the answers, and then we'll have a meeting and discuss.
And can I just ask who is currently on the easements committee?
No.
You haven't got appendix A
Actually,
with you?
I can have a look.
At some point to discuss it.
Kieran stepped off the easement.
Is it worth discussing it
I
then?
think
Yeah, I think I'm on it, but I think I must have been away
It's on
at
the
the last
website. It's on
meeting.
the website.
Yeah, that's all.
You haven't
You're
mentioned
looking,
it
are you?
online.
We'll come back on that point in a moment.
Can I ask
Joe's
why
gonna-
Kieran stepped off the easement committee?
We have, so we're going to go back to the Parish Council meeting. Amendment to easement working group. There is a, it's not in the document, is it?
Oh, it's on the same.
It's on 4.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just on the table at the end. just that he stepped off it. There wasn't really any more to say on it, apart from
Peter, Ian, Sarah, Julian Thomas.
it's not loading on my phone.
No, don't worry.
There you go.
We'll find
Yeah.
that out. We'll find, we'll come back to you on it. Come back to you on information.
Call to the
All right,
website.
so amendment to easement working group, Kieran, you've stepped off. You stepped off back in July.
Website says Peter, Ian Stott, Sarah Partridge and Julian Thomas.
Thank you.
Okay.
Better connection than Joe's.
So there's four,
That's
four people now. Julian Thomas is not there.
Yeah, well, we talked to Julian.
Oh, is it?
Because he was clerk
Right.
around the
Sorry.
time
It was a good source.
Okay.
that there were previous debates about this
Oh.
access.
He chaired a group that wrote a report a number of years ago about this whole subject. So it was felt worthwhile maintaining him on this group.
Anything further to add?
Because you're on a course, was it relevant to easements?
Absolutely.
That course, we spoke at the time about sharing some of the content.
You did.
Is that possible? Before you unable to set off?
Funny enough, I was just going to
Specifically in
ask
regard to
that.
that, it would be good for that information to be shared before you leave the committee.
I'll hand it over to whoever's going to convene the easement group. Is that you, Peter?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Is it a document you could email to all of the Parish Council?
There's quite a lot of, because of all these things going on, there's quite a lot of sensitive information, so I would prefer it to be handled by the easement group, if that's all right. Or at least go through and let somebody else make the decision.
Okay. I just feel as parish councillors, we don't get to see a lot of like emails or documentation, so we're kind of like in the dark a lot about things. So when things like this come up, you know, sometimes it's very difficult to know some of the background stuff.
It is useful information. The one thing is that there's common law access rights and the green registration. It's all so complicated. I mean, if you try and look it up on the UCO website, there's pages and pages and pages of it. And so this is a summary of it done by an independent body. I can't validate how accurate it is. It's so, you know.
But it's a very good
It
guideline,
could be
isn't
worth
it?
everyone having, because then even if it's complicated or whatever, at least we've got the opportunity to make ourselves aware of it, so we're more...
I sort of agree with that, because when we were having conversations, sorry, going back to the playground, but we couldn't sort of really answer the questions. We all knew that the green and various other bits of land around the village has got various rights and protections and restrictions, but we couldn't explain it. And sorry, that's what I meant, could you explain it a bit to us in February, at our next meeting? But I think we should all be able to have a rough understanding.
Use the library.
Sorry, I thought.
Is that going to be possible or not? To send
I'll give it
something?
to the convener of the easement group.
Yeah.
And will you then pass it round by, is it on email?
No, I've got a hard copy.
Is it a hard copy?
Right. So we will go back to the valuer and ask him to change the word and to give a evaluation for shared access. And when we've got that information, then there's a request that a meeting is held with the applicant. Is that correct?
I think there's more than just the wording wrong by the sounds of it, is there?
Yeah, this is a list that's written to you, haven't they? So what we're not happy with, so just need to answer some questions really, don't they? So I think that'll be sorted out.
Is it just the wording?
It's wording the fact that it's referring to a freehold rather than an easement.
Do you want to put your comments, your questions in writing?
Yeah,
They get
they're
answered
now
rather than-
writing. If you've got the solicitors, so
But if you send them to Joe, we can ask properly, just
Oh,
list out solicitors and grant it
I'll
done.
send that round. No, I've sent it to you, haven't I? About 2 or 3 weeks ago.
But I've sent them on to our solicitor and
Yeah.
this is
And that's where they come back with a
because,
response.
you know, it's beyond my understanding and stuff, so, you know, that's why I haven't responded to you personally and I've sent it to the solicitor.
Yeah.
Okay. All done?
But I mean, I'm more than happy to have a meeting with the group to try and get it resolved.
We're doing that then, is that
That's what we
going
just
to
said.
get the information first?
And is that just going to be the easement committee?
Oh, you can come if you like. We'll send out notifications.
Could you send out invites to, and then obviously easement committee plus parish councillors that want to be involved?
If it's a parish council meeting, it needs to be an open meeting. So therefore it needs to be the working group of the easements.
Okay, right.
Okay, 4.3, green open spaces, updates including tree survey quotations, CCC replanting, tree policy, further information. Gentlemen, Ian and Kieran.
Okay. We've now got 2 sets of quotes in for tree work, and Ian has done his list of prioritising the work. It is still a bit on the high side, so what we'd like to do is to meet again the Open Spaces group, kick it around a bit and see if we can't get it, analyse it again and see if we can't get it down a bit. So we'll bring it to the next parish council meeting with our recommendations. That's okay.
Some work has been done on a voluntary basis, hasn't it?
Yeah, we have, and that's made some difference. And there will be more, and one of the things I want to get a view of is how much more we can do in the next few months.
Yep.
I think we're capable of, there might be some things which we might want to tackle rather than to keep the cost down. But at the moment, it'd be really nice to do all priority A and B work together, but we're quite a way over the budget at the moment, so that's what we're going to try and work on, get closer. Ditch clearing starts on 7th of 8th of Jan, that sort of area. Is that right, John? Going back to what you asked before, you would just do the other side of the ditch, what you did
No, I said
2017.
all the cutting.
Sorry?
As was instructed the other day by Mr. Stott, that we had to cut it to 10 inches. My question was, has the whole ditch from start to finish got to be at 10 inches?
Shall we deal with this later or do we do it now?
Well, you can do that now. Effectively, most of the ditches to 10 inches, I would suggest that there is merit in the ditch behind the maze, round to the cricket pavilion. That is cut a little closer than that. And this is really bearing in mind the fact that when it comes to Feast Week, we don't want people walking to the perimeter of that area and throwing plastic glasses that can get lost in there. If it's cut relatively short, particularly during that period, then that sort of thing doesn't happen. Sorry, I'm trying to keep a straight face. Poor chap. Yeah, it's really that area behind there that is a bit shorter. But most of the rest of it really should be.
Well, will you please go and have a look in front of the lines?
Yep.
The side that we've got to do. If there's one, there must be 100 ash suckers in there.
Yeah.
We can't keep cutting those off at 10 inches.
No. No. No, we go on that one.
Yeah.
John.
Okay.
Sort that out for
We're
you.
starting on
January the 8th.
January the 8th.
Monday, January the 8th.
the 8th, isn't it? Yeah.
So if you could, no doubt we will sort that out.
Yeah.
And I will send you the bill. No.
Anything else?
Yeah. Just to reiterate, the maintenance contract is still being reviewed. Hopefully all the people on the group have received a copy of that. So we'll convene again, probably not before Christmas, probably just after, and then we can go through that and present that to the next council meeting. I'm going to rope off the pavilion area again to stop drivers driving on there. Just sort of let you know. If there's a strong opinion not to do it, then perhaps that should come up sooner rather than later, but I'll just presume we just do what we normally do.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It was good to tell them last year, so.
Yeah, it does slow people down. I mean, at the moment the ground is not that, it's quite firm still despite the amount of water we've had, so there's no rush to do it, but probably just after Christmas I'll do it. The roping of the maze is already roped off, hasn't it, since the summer. And so we'll probably just keep that roped until spring.
Have you noticed it's all been cut?
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. There was just the one item put over from last month. We had a dialogue with, was it HDC?
Cambridgeshire County Council about the replanting.
Sorry, Cambridge County Council, yeah. And Joe's been in communication with them. They are going to select 4 species that they will go with. They still haven't decided which species they're going to go with just yet. Because we did actually say we would prefer silver birch.
Yeah, I went back. Well, first of all, they came back and said that there would be 4 species, and then when I asked what they would be, they said they didn't know at the moment. So they keep us updated. But as they say, I think if we wanted something different to what they're offering, we could potentially put towards.
We could just suggest 4 species and see if it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So really, we're waiting on another communication from them.
Thank you. Item 4.4 is update from Hat and Laura.
Okay, so as we discussed at the last meeting, I'm attending the HAP meeting with the liaison between Parish Council and HAP Group. So we had a meeting earlier on in November, and we discussed the links that are ongoing between with the police, so with Sergeant Priestley and with the police operation, and he's doing the project. We discussed this at the last meeting. It has been issuing tickets for some of the lorries for nighttime violations, and it's issued several tickets, in fact, and is continuing to monitoring nighttime violations when possible. We did have the Mick George data loggers in the village again the week of the 19th of November, so we have another week's worth of data on speeds and types of vehicles coming through the village, and also the nighttime violations, because it does monitor which vehicles are coming through at what time, so we can see what times lorries are coming through. And I know that data is being used currently to support a group getting together to monitor the HGVs going through the village between the nighttime ban, with the view to providing that data to the police. Now that has actually come from discussions between HAT Group and the police. I can't remember who exactly off my head. Someone quite high up in the police.
Superintendent James Sutherland.
Thank you. Has actually said that if we provide the data and the details on the lorries that are going through, that they will actually issue tickets out to those companies as well. So there are going to be some sessions set up to monitor lorries throughout that nighttime period. We've discussed Speed Watch. So the HAT Group did actually do an application to the LHI funding that we discussed back in Parish Council sort of before the summer. So the HAT Group did an application for a SID or MBAS device for the village. The application has been progressed, and Andy will be presenting it to the Cambridgeshire County Council on the 10th of December. We have like a 3-minute presentation to see if we can get funding for that, and I think the decision then, I think we get a decision in April and the work potentially start, January, and the work could potentially start in April if we're successful for that bid. So that's for a device that basically flashes up with the speed that the vehicles are actually doing. It can be moved from 5 locations within the village, because we've got the funding application supports different brackets, so it can be moved around the village. And there's also different displays it can produce as well. You can set it to like a smiling face or a sad face or various other things like that. And it's also got the data logger as part of it, so you'll be able to get the data as part of that device. So we'll hear more after that meeting. And finally, I had some information during the meeting about Community Road Watch, and I don't know how much you know about what Community Road Watch does already, I didn't really know, but Community Road Watch are already coming to the village and doing logging data and looking at HCVs going through and providing data loggers. They are doing that currently in lots of parishes, and various parishes around the area can donate between £50 and £100 every 6 months to that service, so that we can use that data. And I know we wanted to collect as much data as we possibly can. The other aspect of that is they do actually send out tickets as well, so if there are a lot of companies contravening the HGV bans or speeding, and then send out communications to like the transport managers, for example, and get an agreement that they won't continue to do that, and then have set up sort of various covenants and things in place for different companies for that.
So they're not sending tickets, they're sending letters.
They don't have the rights to send tickets.
They don't have the authority to enforce.
No. So I think it was just suggested that it would be nice if Hilton Parish Council will be willing to provide some sort of donation towards Road Watch, as they are currently doing work in our village to try and reduce the, to enforce the current TROs we've got, and to look at providing data to us that we need to initiate traffic calming measures or whatever we're looking to do that we've discussed at previous meetings.
Can I add a bit to that, just a bit more detail? Road Watch, that was discussed before. Road Watch do sessions during the day, and they check the speed of the lorries, and they report speeding lorries to the hauliers, and put in place a covenant with that for them to guarantee, but say they will not re-offend. And they've been quite successful in that, had some very good letters back from Hamptons, all the usual suspects, the aggregate lorries in particular, for that. So they have, I think, had good success in reducing the speed of lorries going through and keeping them honest. They only ask for petrol money, effectively, expect them to come out and run those sessions.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So you're proposing?
Do we want to discuss? Or if not, I'm proposing
yeah.
I think that's great progress, actually. I really do. Well done, Laura.
it's not me, I'm just reporting back, so it's there.
But, well, and...
I think it's all together. Sorry, I think it's coming together. Speed Watch, Road Watch, the LHI bids, the Covenant, the police, the whole lot actually is all starting to work together. So it's
There's
good.
some monitoring going on, isn't there, for admissions? Because
Yep, we've got the tubes up.
we've been paying some money for the tubes, don't we? Of which you got 21 this for yeah.
Do you see the results of that?
Yeah, I've got them.
It's just NOx, right?
Sorry?
Just NOx. It's only diesel emissions, not petrol.
I don't know. Sorry, what's this results of?
Yeah, it's nitrogen dioxide.
Emissions.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we have some tubes in the village that are monitoring.
Could you send around the results?
Yeah, I've only just started to receive them because they used to just...
They're on the website.
Oh, okay.
And you're also receiving Road Watch data?
Yes, which I do send out from time to time when we're discussing.
So I propose that we do support Road Watch because I think it's beneficial to what we've discussed since I've been a parish councillor about the priority of the village to try and reduce traffic, and I don't know, I'm not proposing an amount because I don't know what, but
What was the amount that you said were...
between £50 and £100 every 6 months,
So I can say it's typically £50 per 6 months. So either you do a £50 6 months, £50 or £100 for the year.
As it says at the bottom of your comments here, £50 would be good,
yeah.
and then something proportionate in April.
Yeah.
Is what you the letter that came from, suggested.
I think that's money well
Any
spent.
comments?
How often are they coming? Sorry, may I ask Andy a question? Thank you.
I think it's
Or,
weekly.
is it weekly? Sorry, I didn't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think it's important, if you think back to the village, there's a lot of emotion around traffic.
Yes, I agree.
So I think the village is a really positive thing that there's action being taken and actually it's a really positive thing. So I think based on that, I think it's a good thing to.
I think it is a good thing, and I personally, if it's £50 every 6 months.
But it won't be.
Pardon?
It won't be.
Okay.
Because of the indication is that it's £50 now, something proportionate in April, at which point HAT will have hopefully been successful in its bid for a SID, and that therefore Community Road Watch won't have to come. So that's what we're saying in here.
Community Road
as
Watch.
we're likely to be needed, unlikely to be needed in Hilton to maintain its SID. Then we do.
Yeah, the other function they do while we haven't added, so they do two things. One is Keith Williams, who lives on Potton Road, and Road Watch sit and monitor the speed of lorries coming through during the day, and then they send the letters out to them. For villages that don't have SIDs, and like the data log that he's been loaning us, they also come out and loan those, but they haven't been doing the SID thing with us. They've just been doing the coming along every week, monitoring the lorry speeds, issuing letters. Yeah.
Look at good, isn't it?
It's not short term. No, it's okay.
Shall we allocate
Well, no, there's a
£50 to them and then
different
discuss it in 6 months' time?
Yeah,
Great.
Would that be a good idea?
Yeah.
Shall I propose?
Oh, you can't fly. Sorry. Right.
Oh, well done.
I'm going to propose that the Parish Council makes a donation of £50 to Community Road Watch to cover up for 6 months, and then we'll review it in 6 months' time.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favour? I take it you were voting, Laura. No,
I'll have to vote.
I assumed you were.
I'll second
Sad too. Right. Consider number 5.1, streetlight maintenance. So Joe did get something, didn't you, from Balfour Beatty? So this was the maintenance of the, I think that's right, because we had this quote, and I had thought that it was actually slightly cheaper, but it is slightly more expensive, £595 for the year to maintain the Parish Council owned streetlights. That's, yeah, £565.33 compared to £512.74.
Yeah.
Right? And then Balfour Beatty actually put something back in.
Yeah, well, initially they came back giving me two options, saying that they don't now maintain our lights, but they would offer and maintain until they all stop working. So I said, could he give me a quote for both changing the light to LED and then also maintaining to end of life? And when I didn't have a response for weeks, despite me chasing 2 or 3 times, and then eventually on Friday I said that if you don't get something to me, then basically I can't, put your details forward because we need to make a decision. So he then just gave me a quote for replacing all the current lamps, and when I went back to him and said, what about the maintenance to end of life, he said they're no longer offering that option. So we only have the one option with Balfour Beatty, and that's to change everything.
And that's £12,000.
Yeah.
Or £1,600 a unit.
I have gone back to K&M to ask them for just for future reference for a light quote. I haven't had that back in yet.
But they're saying then to maintain the 27 lights, they are quoting us £565.33p a year for £169.60 a quarter.
Which one are you reading?
Yeah.
That's the...
Charging discount.
Oh, right.
I don't know how many lights actually changed, was frequency.
I've had a few in the last couple of months, really. Well, I say a few, about 3 or 4. They're very quick. They come out.
They have
really
No, I was
quickly.
thinking more of if the bulbs are being phased out, do we want to buy some
Oh, I
bulbs and
see
stock them
what-
so we don't have to replace the
Oh, I
lights
see
from
what-
time?
And then I mean, they're not. I mean, they're not suggesting that there's a problem with maintaining what we have and replacing them.
No, it's just the
At the
comment that says
moment.
which are now being phased out.
Yeah.
That seems to mean that there's.
But then they
there's
changed
supply.
that one out there with the LED light.
And that well, yeah, we asked them to as a kind of a trial run, didn't we?
When they go each time, can you not replace the bulb with, is it not just replacing the bulb, you've got to do the whole post?
Well, Balfour Beatty is saying that you have to replace the whole cost. KLM haven't done
No,
so.
every time a bulb goes, if you can replace it with the newer version, then
Because they didn't charge us for that, did they? Or-
No, that was because they did it as a trial
We
kind
were to
of.
find out what, like, if they were to do it.
Yes, I've
what
asked
the
them
cost
for
would
that.
be.
I have asked them for that. They haven't come back to me.
I was wondering if there was any cost, and you said, okay, what's the contract if we did that? Is it?
I've asked that. I have asked that question.
So I'm guessing there'll be an upfront
Sponsorship.
cost, then after that, the running costs will be a lot less on
Yes,
LED from a replacement
Yeah,
point of view.
I've asked those exact questions.
To be decided then.
Well, yes, but our maintenance contract is due for renewal.
And there's
This
a
month.
discount available for a 3-year contract, which we've just come to the end of. We've had a 3-year contract with them. And this was a considerable reduction on what we were being charged. If I
Yeah.
remember rightly, back in
So would it be
2015.
more sensible then to keep this contract going at that price and then think about it for the next, get some idea
Yeah,
of the cost for
yeah.
next year when it runs out?
Well,
So
that's the
probably
thing. Are we
maybe-
going to do just a year, or are we going to do the 3? If we don't sign up to the 3-year, we lose out on that. I mean, it's only a
20
small
quid, isn't it?
discount. So
Yeah. I'll come back to them and say, look, we've already had a contract with you for a couple of years, we want to keep our business, go with that 565 and we'll sign up for another year. I'm pretty confident they'll go with it.
but I could go back to them and say that because we're looking at the option of changing to LED, would they?
Yeah.
You know, honour that price for a year with.
Yeah.
Well, aren't we satisfied with what we want to do anyway?
I think we're
Oh,
very
yeah.
satisfied.
I don't see why we wouldn't go for a 3-year contract.
we might want to phase out the bulb, if they want to phase out the newer type of bulbs within that 3-year period.
If the bulbs become available, we're in the middle of the contract, then we're tied in with that company to change the bulbs. That's the thing I worry about, and then they've got you over a barrel in terms of cost, and they've got a contract with them.
Yeah, you can't break the contract.
So yeah, we need to know.
But the annual maintenance contract is to replace the bulbs if they break anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that
that's the
includes the
idea.
replacement of bulbs
Yeah.
into the newer upgraded.
Oh, so
bulb.
then-
Well, if they run out, I suppose they've got
Well,
to
yeah, I
use them.
suppose they would. I can ask that question, but obviously we
The
still need to make a
maintenance
decision.
contract, from what I remember, was about making sure the lights were
Function.
functioning. Yeah. So if the bulb had gone, they came and replaced it. So if you sign up for a 3-year deal, that is maintaining those lights being
I mean, I assume if they're offering a
Excuse me.
3-year contract, they have enough bulbs to honour that contract.
Do we know why sort of Balfour BT were talking about replacing the concrete columns? What's that?
because they had a contract, probably they had a contract to replace all the street lamps across Cambridgeshire,
Yeah.
through
So
Cambridge
not,
County.
there's
got a few left over?
I'm also thinking that next year could be tricky. And no longer we have to start challenging our new clock. If we go for 3-year, it'll be easier.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll be in the middle of the phasing period.
You can do 1 year, let's find some information out of that year. If you can get them to hold price, which I think Rob was saying. That-
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite
Present
happy
it
to
in
go
that
back
way.
to them and say, look, because we want to know more about this and we've got to make a decision, can you honour that price with the discount if we just sign up for a year initially? But I need a decision if they say no to that, what we do, because we're not going to make it
That's
get
fine,
until.
because we'll talk to the and see what the decision is. So it doesn't matter. So I would propose,
Well, you could take the off, because it's sensitive information, you can ask them to leave, you know. If you want to do that, then I'll give away.
Surely if we're signing up to if they say yes, they'll agree to do a 1-year contract, you will have a contract to sign, and then surely in that contract will state what they're covering. No?
Well, yeah, I did send a contract out to everyone last month.
You did?
It was.
And the contract that we signed in the first 3 years was to make sure that our street lights were maintained, and therefore
And
bulbs
we
were
paid that
replaced.
4 bulbs, 4 people. 4.
Bulbs were replaced as they went out during the course of the contract, weren't they? And the lights were maintained. How do you agree with that?
Yeah, could I suggest another question you might have to ask them is that you can replace sodium bulbs with LEDs because the bulbs have a 50,000 hour life, which is 30 years. So you might want to see about getting a reduced cost for maintenance because they don't have to replace so many bulbs.
Yeah, that's what I have asked them.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So you have two options. One is, the worst case scenario is that you sign up for a 1 year deal at 5.5 because they say that's the cost of a 1 year deal. You can go back and say, we'd like to sign up, extend our current contract, but we'll pay you $565, which is they're saying is what they did for 3 years. Or we sign up for a 3 year maintenance deal, and in that 3 years, we try and get more information from them about the lights. Or you go for a 1 year deal at 595, which is possibly where they'll come back at, and try and find out more about what's going to happen. But then in 12 months' time, when they quote for a 3 year contract, you can guarantee it won't be £500, or it won't be 565, it will be more expensive.
Are there only these two, K and M Lighting and Balfour Beauty? Are they the only two companies knocking around?
I mean, to be honest, there are others.
I would say 2 or 3 years. Because the maintenance contract is to maintain the lights.
But have we actually had that?
Well, I think if they're asking us to sign a contract and it's
No.
for 3 years, then sure.
Just
surely
check-
they're
well,
happy
we'll
to
just check that.
word
If you
it.
look at Balfour's quote for replacing
Balfour.
Yeah, that's
the
what I was
LED,
saying.
it's
Can we
12,000 quid.
Can we
Yeah,
definitely
that's
change the
Balfour
bulb?
BT's quote, it's not K&M.
No, but-
There must be a reason.
K&M lighting.
Can they definitely change the bulb from what we've got currently? Otherwise, why are they quoting the bulb?
Well, they can do, we did it out here, but we don't know what customers can do.
Because, I mean, they have put here, haven't they, the cost of the 35W wattage sock lamps are being phased out and they're far more costly than they were. Now, does that mean that...
But that's explaining their increase from 512 to 565.
I'm just wondering why the Balfour BT is saying 30 lanterns only would be £12,000. That's literally just the light bit. They're saying it's £1,600 per unit for the concrete column. So that £12,000 is just for the light bits. There might be some I don't know nothing.
But they
about
haven't,
it.
Balfour BT haven't been out and looked at the lights, so this is a bit of a kind of shot in the dark kind of quote. And as I say, I mean, I literally was on at them week after week to get a quote, and this came in at the 11th hour on Friday, so it's, you know, just, I don't know whether
It's their view
it's
that
what
the
it's
parish
based on.
Shall we just say that we'll do, I mean, I would think we should do 3 years, but as long as we can get it covered in writing, they're not going to suddenly put the bulb cost up over the next 3 years. And if they won't write back saying that, then we're going to have to review it again, haven't we? In the non-parish council meeting up to February. Or do we say to Joe, if they will not confirm the fact that that the bulbs aren't being, costly bulbs aren't going to be
But I
increasing?
think the fact that they've given us the option of a 3 year contract, they must feel confident in that they can replace those bulbs for the next 3 years.
You can ask for that to be guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if that wasn't the case, I think there'd be, as Balfour BT has said, you know, we're not maintaining those kind of lights anymore. You need to look at replacing them, which they haven't said.
And they've explained why there's an increase. The increase is because
They're being phased out.
yeah, which covers that.
Should we vote on
Yeah.
it? It's getting late.
It is getting late, I agree.
Right, so I'm going to propose that the Parish Council
Already have.
use its annual maintenance contract on a 3 year deal with supply number 1 at a cost of £565.33, just with a little caveat. include jumping the holes, just so that everybody's happy.
I vote.
Now, who seconds it, first of all?
Me.
Thank you. All those in favour? Abstaining? Not against?
Sorry, I've got completely lost then, so can you do that and vote again? Sorry, I've got you proposing, Sharon second.
8 for, 1 against.
Right, okay, I didn't see
I'd
what ten.
abstain.
Oh, you abstained, that's what I was
abstained.
looking for.
So 7 for,
You confused me.
7 for, 1 abstained, 1
One abstained.
against. That's fine. Excellent. Good. Moving on. 5.2, request from Feast Week to hold Feast Week on the Green and Marquee to be erected 22nd of July to the 9th of August, because the last time we did, it was...
I didn't realise
It
it
was
was.
right.
That was my fault completely, and I was going to thank you very much indeed for spotting it, Sharon.
The clerk has advised that public liability insurance must be in place and risk assessments for each event.
We have accepted that and noted and discussed.
So I propose that the Parish Council agree that Feast Week can hold the Feast Week on the Green with the marquee to be erected from the 22nd of July to the 9th of August on the basis that they confirm, Feast Week confirm their public liability insurance and provide risk assessments. Thank you. All those in favour? That's everyone. Discuss and decide whether a Facebook page should be set up for the Parish Council. This was an item that Laura brought up at the end of the previous Parish Council meeting in Councillors' items.
I thought it would be quite useful when it came to like when we were doing the playground thing about sending out leafleting around the village. Actually, it's quite useful to be able to post something on Facebook and share it with the various other Facebook groups that already exist, like the school bus Facebook group, the baby and toddler group Facebook group, the nursery Facebook group,
Feast Week Facebook group.
We can put notices on there. It doesn't have to be an open forum where people can comment. It can be administrated. So it doesn't have to be an open posting forum, but it can be somewhere where we post notices and information.
We have a website for that.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a
I think
brilliant
so.
idea.
There's some of them, haven't they? They showed a lot of information
Yeah.
recently about doing stuff and how to report things yourself rather than just going to the clerk all the time. It was really useful basic information about, you know, you see something here that you don't have to agree or something else. How you report it formally, just information generally.
Who did you say has got one?
Ben Stanton.
Ben Stanton. Yeah.
Most parish councils have one. I've looked actually. It's quite a few.
I think it's really good format because let's face it, there, you know, social media is just so easily accessible to everybody, and you know we don't reach out to maybe all the younger age group in the
Young people
village.
don't use Facebook, Sharon.
No.
My kids remind me of that regularly.
How do you maintain editorial control?
Yeah, that's my concern.
How is it?
I think you'd have to manage it like you do the website.
Sorry?
You'd have to manage it like you do the website.
Well, there's only put stuff on the website that comes from Joe or is agreed at meetings, so I don't do any of my own thoughts.
Yeah. So you'd probably have to do something similar, wouldn't you?
And
Just
how
to,
do you
know,
stop people, I don't know how you
I think
stop
you
people
can
just
have-
posting whatever they like on.
You can definitely see there are groups set up where there isn't a wall available to post things on. So there must be a way to set up a group where it's a closed group and you can't just have people posting and
You
putting
can-
comments
you
on
can-
there.
You can come for approval before posting.
And yeah, you can have for approval.
Could we get some sort of illustrations? I mean, in principle, I think it's a good idea, but I confess I haven't the first
It's worth asking Ben Stanton how they
How they
manage
do
it,
it.
because they.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of the website is that you can actually if people like the Facebook group, if we advertise it and put it in Spectrum, etc., if people like it, then things come to them. So to go to the web, to know something's on the website, you have to get the village people to go and actually, the parishioners to go and actually look at the website and find something. Whereas we can send out a notice that will then ping up to people that they've had a notice, to have a look at.
We have a media work group, don't we?
We do.
Should the, I mean, this sounds like something that needs a bit of exploration.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. So how about passing it over to the media work group
Because
and work out how you keep editorial control?
you would need to make sure there's a clerk in place who's prepared to...
Doesn't have to necessarily be the clerk, would it?
Could be
Because that is the face.
Why don't we find out how Stanton does?
Yeah.
Because you know, that's your lady.
Yeah.
Well, we've been on the same course.
Oh yeah, could you contact her?
Yeah.
That would
I'll
be
feed that back to the media.
meeting.
Whoever's on that.
I reckon these two.
Is it just your
You want
name?
it as well?
He knows all about Facebook.
If you'd been to the meeting I went to today, there was no way in hell you would engage in social media. Okay? That's all I'd say. But that is purely how you can get yourself in trouble on social media.
That's very useful.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just a different aspect to it, but it's not all shining lights, is it? But
So,
It's been very, very
Laura,
positive
you
for
know
Peace
the
Week
team
though.
often.
I mean, it's
I'm
really
on the
helped
media
getting
group.
we might
information around.
invite you in.
does anybody know anything about Facebook?
Rob's on Facebook all the time, isn't
Okay.
And Laura's very good at Facebook.
Yeah, we'll send them a meeting, but it
I'm
might-
happy
That
to, I'm happy
generation,
to be on
isn't
it
it?
if you want.
You're good.
We will-
You probably need
As a
somebody
media
that's
group,
got
we
a
will
good-
set up a meeting probably in the new year. Okay?
Would Laura be invited?
Yeah,
She's not on
I've
it.
just said.
I'll have to consider the meeting. I've got enough to do.
Yeah, she might not want to come.
I
We will
know.
invite her. And she can
Hang on
say
every.
that. Yeah, exactly. She can say that.
Maybe that's one of the meetings that you should get a parishioner to join the working party. One that knows the work Facebook.
Although the
Someone
difficulty
to write
is
age.
you need
No,
somebody.
give info.
We will have a meeting first of all. It'll probably be in the new year, and we will report back
Okay.
to the Parish Council. Yeah. Discuss and decide whether supporting documents can be made available to parishioners was a comment that Sharon made at the last Parish Council meeting. And Sharon, I would ask that we can park that for the moment because Jo has tendered her resignation, as I mentioned, and we need to get a clerk in place to be able to explore that option further. Because we don't have a meeting in January, which we're not. I've had some feedback from HDC which says that the PC can continue to function without a clerk. For administrative purposes, obviously the PC will need to appoint someone to issue the summons, take the minutes, etc. For all other purposes, the PC will need to appoint a clerk as soon as possible, as I'm sure they're already aware. Okay. So can we get that bit sorted out first?
Yes, well, while Joe's still here, I just wondered if there's anything that you've covered on your course.
Well, you can in theory do it. My biggest reservation and worry about it is how you, because obviously, especially with the general data protection stuff, you can't just, there's things that you're included in that you'd have to be careful sharing, and it's also sort of the time it takes to then, like the documents I send you aren't all frilly and nice, and I'd perhaps want them to be, to go, if they were going to out to, more people. It's just obviously the work involved in doing that. It's not necessarily that you can't do it, it's just obviously finding a way to do it without too much extra work.
Discussing things with the clerk in place.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Very
no, that's
simplistic.
fine. It was
We
only,
need to park it for the time being.
I need to anonymising everything as well.
Mm.
yeah.
Commercially sensitive stuff, people quoting.
Yeah.
So there's
Same
a lot,
work.
there's lots of things.
If you're happy, we'll park it and come back to it when we've got a new clerk in place. Is that right? No, I don't want to, but there's no point in going through a big debate on it if we haven't got a clerk to do it, or we won't have a clerk to do it.
But it's just whilst Joe's been through the training, sorry Peter, I can see
all
the
I can tell you is that it's not that you can't do it. Personally, my reservations is how much extra work it
that's
will.
fair
I just
enough.
wondered whether
The
other
powers
powers that you
Clerks do that, do you
I'm
know?
not sure. I think there's a bit of a mix. I don't think many do.
Could you perhaps just...
Well, I did ask the
ask,
ones that
yeah.
were, well, not many of them do,
Yeah.
but it's not that you can't.
So it must be.
So there's nothing about GDPR, whichever way round it is, that so if a parishioner writes to you as the parish clerk or writes to the parish clerk, there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to share it to the rest of the parishioners.
Yeah, I couldn't share. I can share the content. I couldn't share where that's come from. and I would have to take out any
Don't give
reference
names.
to
I think
the
that's,
person.
so in that case we need to change information on the website so the parishioners know that when they email the parish clerk, it is the parish clerk and councillors.
Except parishioners.
Yeah, sorry. So
Yeah.
when the parishioners email the parish clerk, they know that the email is going to the parish clerk and to the councillors.
If,
What's the difference?
but I don't share people's personal details with you all now. I copy and paste.
But I think
Contents of
I
emails.
think you can do it if you covered yourself, if it was covered correctly in the documentation that the parish council. I mean, maybe you know more than I do, and maybe this is not the right venue because you're leaving anyway. But I think we should continue with that. This
And we
question.
shall,
Certainly
as soon as we get a new clerk in.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, item 6, to consider and decide upon matters relating to finance and risk assessment. Bills to be paid, as it's a double month, there are 2 payments to JSC, £660 a month, in line with the maintenance contract. There's a direct debit, probably estimate for ecotricity, £8.37. The diffusion tubes and analysis, which is the we discussed it.
Yeah, I do.
I'm trying to think. It's the pollution monitoring. Yes, £21.60. When there are 2 months' clerk salary of £584.13, the work from home annual allowance of £100, travel, 2 expenses for telephone calls of £57.35 and postage of £1.30, which is £187.45, and then toner and paper, which was paid because we needed to get that in so that the leaflet could go out.
Thank you very much.
It's £97.18, and there is a money's received of £1,817.88, which is the firework money as discussed at the last meeting. I propose that those bills be paid.
Just ask the work from home. Does that, I noticed that before.
Maybe it comes up once a year.
Oh, right, okay. I noticed that before. You get
Once a year.
a bonus.
No,
No, I get an allowance for my electricity
Oh,
and
excellent.
the rest of it that I use.
Thank you, Rob seconding it. All those in favour? That is everybody. Thank you very much. Right, councillors' items, information only, no discussion, no decision. Graham? No. From the left. Ian? Anne?
Bus survey is still waiting for the analysis.
Thank you. Sorry?
No.
Kieran? No. Me? Yes. So, I felt I should mention it when we came to that point in the meeting around finances, but obviously Joe has sadly attended to resignation, and thank you, Joe, because it's a thankless task what you do for the number of hours and the money that you're paid. So thank you for your hard work on the job since 2013 into 2013. We will need to advertise for a new clerk. And again, there was no spectrum in the immediate month for that to take place. We'll ask, we had an advert previous time round, which I'll get Kira to put it up on their website, I'll get Joe to put it up on the notice boards. If we find that we have an applicant, I will be asking to call a meeting to decide on employment. If we don't get a clerk, then we don't have a meeting in January, and we are next due to have a meeting in February. I will do some investigation with local authority as to whether or not we can have that meeting, or whether we need to have an extraordinary meeting between us as council to decide what direction we'll take at that time in terms of spending money on a outside clerking agency, or whether we could try and muddle through if we felt that there was some interest from the party in the role of clerk. Okay? No discussion. That's what I'm suggesting. We will need to see what we can come up with.
That's just in my comments, it's not for discussion, but through SLBC, I get regular adverts for asking for any interested parties for clerks, so if you want to go down that route, we can advertise through them as well.
Can we just ask, do we interview a clerk?
No discussion, you can ask me that outside of the meeting as a private conversation. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.